The college I attend has a history as a party college, but also a record of assaults, muggings, break-ins, rapes, etc. Just this year, 2 students have been shot, and an upstanding member of the punk rock community was killed by a stray gunshot when a house party turned violent. I don't have a lot of choice, thanks to money, but I'm doing my best to stay alert while trying to finish my degree. I also work on campus, which until recently actually seemed like the safest place to be. The university newspaper. There are journalists here at all hours, and I only work from noon until 5. I've never had an issue in the parking lot, which is where I'm most wary. It was in the damn bathroom where I had my scare. There's no staff bathroom because the building is still part of the school, so it's a 2-seater for the women's, and, I presume, a similar setup for the men's. The bathroom is maybe 25 feet down the hall from the door to the paper, so not a long walk and not at all out of earshot of all the conversation and bustle. The bathroom is maybe 25 feet down the hall from the door to the paper, so not a long walk, and not at all out of earshot of all the conversation and bustle. Getting back to the event from a few weeks ago, I was walking along to the bathroom, having left my keys and phone in my office because, why not? The building is safe enough, and I didn't think I'd need the little knife on my keyring, until I noticed that there was a guy hanging out by the end of the hall, just 5 or so feet past the doors to the bathrooms. Initially, I ignored him. He was on his phone, and I assumed he was waiting on someone, or maybe just killing time. But something about him kept bothering me. He didn't look odd. He was tall, skinny, and had dark hair that was just a little bit crazy. He looked like an unkempt and unattractive version of the guy from Game Grumps. Like if he had a creepy, grimy cousin. His jeans were filthy, and his t-shirt had a band logo on it. But it was the fact that he wasn't really looking at his phone in his hand that really got my attention. He wasn't looking at it, but around, and when he saw me, he immediately stood up straighter and started staring at me. I'm not pretty. I'm not even really that cute. I'm a bit overweight, and it's not carried in shapely fashion. The best I can say for myself is that I do have a fairly nice rack, but yeah, that's about it. But he's staring at me, and I ignore it because of course I do. I'm thinking that I should just keep going, then circle back to the office and wait to visit the bathroom, but I don't. I tell myself I'm making a big deal out of nothing. I tell myself he's just waiting on someone, and yeah, maybe he's leering at my boobs, but he hasn't said or done anything, so I should just chill out about it. Except as I go into the bathroom, I glance back and see that he's walking toward me. I step into the bathroom, which is basically a square rectangle with a little protruding square from the door, where it opens into the hall. I step to the side by the mirror. This puts me out of the view if someone were to walk in. And I'm only standing there for maybe 10 seconds before the door opens. Normally, these doors have hinges that scream like they're the victim in a slasher movie, but the door is being opened so slowly that it doesn't make a damn sound. He steps in like he's sneaking, putting his feet down quiet and slow, and his eyes are fixed forward on the stalls. When he sees that both the stall doors are still open and the toilets themselves are unoccupied, he stopped and stared for a second, then noticed me. He jumped back about a foot, then turned and bolted from the bathroom. I followed him out just in time to see him sprint down the hall, take a left, and then book it out of the building. I haven't seen him since, and I didn't report it. But of course I was told by campus security that the cameras in the halls aren't actually active because they don't have enough staff to monitor them. I'm a 21-year-old man now, but this story takes place when I was 7. In my hometown in Vietnam, I was considered to be very special because my mother was the first Vietnamese to marry a Korean. This meant that everywhere I went, people seemed very kind to me and would always invite me in for a meal and give me treats. One summer, when I was going back to my grandfather's house from the DVD store, a middle-aged man offered me a ride on his motorcycle. Since the DVD store was a 1-kilometer walk away from my grandfather's house, I accepted it without even thinking. Since it was noticeable that I was half Korean, people in my town always called me by the name of a Korean actor from a popular TV drama at the time. So when the man called me by this name and asked me if I wanted a ride, I assumed that he wasn't really a stranger. But after about 5 minutes, we arrived at his house where he invited me in for some lunch. His house was very clean and big. It had granite stone flooring, which back then was a sign of wealth. We were eating with his wife and 2 teenage sons when he brings out some beer cans and asks me if I wanted to have some. I, being a 7-year-old kid, couldn't drink beer, so I said no. They bring me a Coke instead, but the Coke is very odd. It's in a very weird bottle, without a lid, and it is taken from a cupboard instead of a refrigerator. There is also some white powder at the bottom. Even though I was young and stupid, I didn't drink the Coke because it made me feel uncomfortable. After the meal, the 2 teenage sons asked me if I wanted to play some Mario on Nintendo with them. I agreed, and followed them upstairs. But the room they led me to was dimly lit, and there was no bed, TV, lights, Nintendo, and there wasn't any furniture. I looked down to see dozens of syringes on the floor in front of me. I ran down the stairs, but was stopped by the mother, who tried to drag me back upstairs. Since the mother was so skinny, I was able to push her down the stairs and run out of the house. I screamed at the top of my lungs while the man from before was chasing me with a syringe. But lots of people came outside because it was the middle of the day. Luckily, some young men ran out of their houses and kicked the guy off his motorcycle. These people messed with the wrong kid, since my grandfather was ex-military, and gained a lot of respect from the people in my village. The 2 sons came out of the house with a big knife and tried to chase the men who were beating their father. Another man grabbed me and carried me to my grandfather's house. A crowd of police soon gathered with machine guns and pistols and told them to put down their weapons. It turned out that the family was going to try to sell me on the Chinese border as a child slave. The family were well-known drug addicts and landed themselves in prison. The father died 5 years ago from HIV, but the rest of the family is still in jail. I used 23 different sound effects in this video. Let's play a game where you try to guess at least 4 of them, and I'll tell you if you're right in the comments. If this video gets to at least 45 likes, I will be uploading another horror-themed horror story video this week. But if not, I guess you guys will just have to wait.